Hi, I'm Becca Rogers. I'm going to show you how to brew a batch of ale today. For you first-time home brewers, this is actually a lot easier than you might think. We're going to use a kit today. That means that everything comes in a box, all ready for you, and all you need to do is follow the directions. The first step, however, is to pour yourself a good glass of beer. The yeast packet that I chose was a Y-Yeast direct pitch activator. In order to activate it, turn it on its side, and you find there's a small packet on the inside. Find it, maneuver it into one corner, and this is why they call it a smack pack. Smack it to break the inside packet. Shake it up and set it aside. Make sure that it is at room temperature. Your next step is going to be to fill your stainless steel stock pot with 3 to 3.5 gallons of water. Doesn't matter if it's cold, it doesn't matter if it's hot, it doesn't matter if it's coming from the tap. You're going to boil it, so anything that's in there is going to be killed off anyway. I've already done so, 3 gallons in my stainless steel 20-quart stock pot. I've also placed a thermometer on the inside so that I can take a look and make sure that I don't go over temperature. Once the water in your stock pot reaches a temperature of approximately 148 to 152 degrees, then it's time to add your specialty grains. I happen to have an extra bag here that I use for my specialty grains. I use it a lot, that's why it's discolored. Open the bag of grains. This one's really difficult, so be sure to watch carefully. Pour them into the bag. Pretty tough. Close the bag. Put the bag into the pot. You'll want to make sure to wrap the yarn around the side of the stock pot. Otherwise you're going to lose the entire bag inside. That just can get really messy. Now we wait. Steep the grains at approximately 152 degrees for 20 to 30 minutes. While the grains are steeping, it's a good time to have a drink. The timer has just gone off for the 20 minutes that I had grains steeping. I'm going to move this off of the burner. Now that the timer's gone off, we're going to remove the grains and then we're going to add the extract. When you remove the grains, make sure that you allow all of the liquid to drain out of the bag. Next, I'm going to add the liquid malt extract. I have had it sitting in a bowl of hot water just to make sure that it's softened up a bit. Remove the lid and pour. Be sure to stir while you're pouring it. As you can see, it is still pretty thick. Be sure to stir it so that nothing actually ends up caramelizing on the bottom of the pot. The next step is going to be your dry malt extract. This will clump. As you pour it in, continue to stir, and as it dissolves, the clumps will also dissolve. As you can see, we've got some clumps going on in there. And all I'm doing is stirring them up. making sure that everything is nice and dissolved. That would be a clump. As you can see, towards the bottom left-hand corner of the screen, you can see that it's starting to boil. We're starting to see a lot of motion here. And we're almost there. As soon as we see a break, and there's the first boiling bubble. So we're going to add our hops. There go the hops. And as you can see, we are really starting to get a good boil in here. Once you put your hops into boil, set your timer for 1 hour. For the last 15 minutes of the boil, we are going to add the final ½ ounce of hops. In order to do so, we have to untie the hop bag, open it up, and then add the hops. The hardest part of this is making sure that all the hops get all the way down this huge tube into the wort. For the last 10 minutes of the boil, we're going to add 1½ pounds of candied sugar. This part's easy. Open the bag and dump. For the final 5 minutes of the boil, we need to add both the orange peel and the final ounce of hops. We will add these both in the exact same way. First, the hops. Open the packet. Again, undo the knot. Open the hops bag. Pour in the hops, being very careful not to dump them on the floor. It's not a pretty sight. Then open the orange peels. Same thing. Open them up. Open up the bag. Pour them in. All the way to the bottom. Again, be sure you tie everything so that none of it falls into the stock pot. We've reached the end of our boil. Therefore, we remove the hops. As you can see, it is severely expanded from the very, very, very small dry hop pellets that we put in. Once you have set your hops aside, take the entire pot and move it to the sink. Because you want to cool your wort down to between 80 to 85 degrees very rapidly, sometimes more than the ice that your refrigerator can create is necessary. At those times, I actually purchase a 5 to 20 pound bag of ice from your local grocery store. Continue adding ice and stirring until you've reached temperature. The next step is going to be pouring the wort into the carboy. I have the funnel already. As you can see, there is a filter inside. This will take out any of the additional particles to make it a clearer beer. We finally managed to get everything into the carboy. Want to see how much sludge is left? That's a lot of sludge. Once you've poured your wort into the carboy that already had 2 gallons of water in it, it's time to take your first reading. With a sterilized plunger, turkey basters work just as well. Remove a portion of the wort. Take out your refractometer. Big words, sorry. Pour a sample onto the refractometer and take a look and see what kind of, oh wow, it's pretty high. We are off the scale. I'm gonna like this ale. Now it's time to pitch the yeast. As you can see, the yeast packet has started to swell quite a bit. It has been approximately 2.5 to 3 hours since we smacked the pack. I have already sterilized the pack. My snips are being sterilized right now. This is a very important process because you've got everything else sterilized. You don't want to mess it up right now. Open up the yeast packet. Pull out the airlock. Pitch the yeast. A very simple process. Just make sure you don't empty it onto the floor. The other thing you want to make sure it doesn't happen is that the inside packet, remember the smacking? Make sure the inside packet remains inside the pack. The yeast has been pitched. The airlock is placed in to the carboy. And now we wait. Alright, coming down the next morning, let's take a look. Look at that. Got some good krausen starting. Got some good bubbling going on here. This is what it should look like.